St. Landry Parish deputies say a driver noticed the 2-year-old crossing Highway 190 and then turned around. Major Eddie Thibodeau says the driver was in shock and stayed with the toddler until authorities arrived. Hundreds of people are here now outside the convenience store where Alton Sterling was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police officers early yesterday morning. Now, he was shot multiple times. Police say he had a gun, and as you mentioned, the Department of Justice is investigating. The Raging Cajuns opened the Sun Belt Conference tournament with a win over Texas State. Sports Director George Faust joins us now with a look at the Cajuns' quarterfinal matchup. George? The rally ended about a half hour ago, but as you can see, her supporters are still here. The Standby Daisha rally lasted for about an hour. There were speakers from various teachers' unions and even Daisha Hargrave herself. Well, this week, St. Landry Parish began phase 3 of its Smooth Ride Home program. The parish plans to rebuild 35 miles of roads in the next year at a cost of about $8 million. And this is what the line of Trump supporters looked like about 2 hours before the rally started. Hundreds of people stood out in the cold, some of them for hours, for their chance to see the president-elect speak here in Baton Rouge. That's right, we're between Cajun, Harley-Davidson, and Fizzo's. We're so happy to be here. The weather is just so nice compared to the, last couple of days that we've had with the colder temperatures. It's just so pleasant to be out here, and this weather's keeping me warm too. Right now, a new farm bill could have a big impact on Louisiana's agricultural industry. And several arrests have been made in cattle deaths in St. Landry Parish. Plus, important positions are up for grabs in Vermilion Parish. Firefighters currently on the scene of a fire at Freeman's Food and Furniture Store on West Admiral Doyle Drive in New Iberia. Now, this is viewer video of smoke coming from the building. We have a crew on the way to the scene, and we'll have more information for you as soon as it is available. Well, the U.S. Farm Bill is up for renegotiation this year, and possible changes could affect local farmers and the price of certain crops. News 10's Caroline Marcello joins us in the studio with more on the bill. Caroline. 4 people have been arrested for allegedly killing a cow and 3 calves in St. Landry Parish. Jameson Lagrange of Leonville, Jacob Hebert, Caitlin Goche, and Christian Mesh of Port Barry are all charged with 4 counts of aggravated cruelty to animals and simple criminal damage to property. Each suspect's bond has been set at $35,000. The animals were found run over on private property last week. State Department of Agriculture and Fisheries inspectors say it appears that the cattle were run over by a truck. Witnesses told inspectors they heard what sounded like trucks mud riding in the area around midnight on March 3rd. A gunman has taken 3 people hostage at the country's largest veterans home. The home in Napa Valley, California houses about 1,000 elderly and disabled veterans. Danielle Nottingham has the latest. Early voting starts tomorrow for some important elections in Vermilion Parish and in some other parts of Acadiana. News 10's Lester Dewey joins us now in the studio with more on that. Lester? The Raging Cajuns opened the Sun Belt Conference tournament with a win over Texas State. Sports Director George Faust joins us now with a look at the Cajuns' quarterfinal matchup. George? Thanks, George. Former Governor Edwin Edwards is highlighted in today's edition of the Best of 90 Plus. And on the 100th anniversary of daylight saving time, a look at how tinkering with time impacts our body clocks. That's in today's Eye on Health. It's been a nice week, but next week it'll be chillier at night and in the mornings, but then it warms up quite nicely. So.
Back up to 70 by next Friday. So
not bad at all.
And before long, the 40s will be gone, and then we'll,
then the 50s will be gone, and then the 60s will be gone.
And then we're stuck with 70s at night for about 3 or 4 months.
90s during the day.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Eve. In today's Best of 90 Plus, we talked to a former Louisiana governor who has lived his life in the spotlight. And our clocks spring forward this Sunday, so how could the time change affect your body? We'll tell you ahead in today's Eye on Health. Former Governor Edwin Edwards has reached another milestone. He celebrated his 90th birthday last year. Plus, he's agreed to join our Best of 90 Plus. The former governor talked to News 10's Renee Allen about his journey and his regret. Here's the Best of 90 Plus with former Governor Edwin Edwards. The former 4-term governor is the father of 4 others, all over the age of 60. Why springing forward this weekend may not be the best idea for your body clock. This weekend will mark the 100th anniversary of springing our clocks forward, but instead of celebrating, many of us will be adjusting our body clocks. For a look at the impact tinkering with time has on your body, here is Mary Maloney. Daylight saving time began in the U.S. back in 1918, and 100 years later, 73 countries still practice that system. Well, in other health news, a new experimental cream could be promising to treat a type of eczema. Scientists in New Orleans found the mixture of antioxidants, moisturizers, and other compounds suppressed an inflammation response. They say the experimental cream could be an alternative to steroid creams and their side effects. A rhino in the Netherlands takes its first steps outside. That video next. Week-old square-lipped rhinoceros calf Naomi made her first foray into the world this week. Now, she is one of 3 rhinoceros calves currently living at Royal Burger Zoo in the Netherlands. But as the youngest, she will not be on display to the public for 2 more months. A native species from the grassland of South Africa, square-lipped rhinos face poached for their horn in the wild. They're considered near threatened by the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. Very cute.
Really
cute.
I hear they're pretty aggressive.
I was at a zoo one time and I saw 2 rhinosauruses like fight.
Oh,
and they were like charging into each other. And
really?
Yeah, very loud.
Very loud.
Very loud, but they were all
Which one won?
okay. You know, I think it was a draw.
A draw.
I think it was a draw. It was very loud. That's all the time we have for News 10 at 5. We'll see you again right back here at 6 o'clock. Right now, the future of the top scholarship program hangs in the balance as the state's budget battle continues. Plus, a former U.S. attorney will serve as Lafayette City Marshal while Brian Pope serves jail time. St. Landry Parish deputies say a driver noticed the 2-year-old crossing Highway 190 and then turned around. Major Eddie Thibodeau says the driver was in shock and stayed with the toddler until authorities arrived. The child's parents were found at their home asleep about 50 yards from where the child was found. Thibodeau says child services arrived a short time later and an investigation is underway. Now, the highway where the 2-year-old was found is 4 lanes and the speed limit is 65 miles an hour. The parents are still being questioned. Thibodeau says he expects there to be an arrest shortly. We have a crew on the way to the scene. 2 suspects are now charged in connection with the murder of a Lafayette woman. Stephen Mamou and Timothy Malasson have been charged with accessory to second-degree murder. 24-year-old Marisha Felix was found shot to death in her vehicle in the 800 block of Martin Luther King Drive on March 1st. The alleged killer, Chantrell Sampy, is charged with second-degree murder. The town of Church Point recently laid off 2 police officers because of a budget deficit. But as News 10's Logan Reaver tells us, the layoffs may be just the beginning of Church Point's money problems. The Iberia Parish School Board will choose a new superintendent tomorrow. 6 people are in the running for the position. Current Superintendent Dale Henderson announced his retirement in January after 11 years on the job. Now, applicants include former Lafayette Parish Superintendent Dr. Pat Cooper, Carrie Lavalier, Iberia Parish's Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, New Iberia Senior High Principal Kurt Landry, Michael Judice, the Assistant Superintendent of Administration for Iberia Parish, Vermilion Parish Director of School Leadership Dr. James Gray, and Alan Blanchard Jr., Director of Operations and Transportation for St. Martin Parish. The Acadia Parish School Board told News 10 today that they will select a new superintendent on June 1st. A former gang member shared his story with Jeanneret High School students about drug and gang violence awareness. Pastor Charles Banks was a Crip member for 12 years, but starting in 2005, he changed his life, turned his life around. Banks is now a motivational speaker. He spends his time ministering at Fellowship Full Gospel Ministries and fighting gang violence in the community. Today, he talked to the students about education, guns, drugs, and violence. He says it wasn't until he lost everything that he realized it was time for a change. And Pastor Banks continues to spread his story through his drug and gang prevention program. McDonald's is promising fresh quarter pounders for all. That story is coming up.
JP Thibodeau.
Everything looks great except the weekend.
I know.
I hope it's
That's
not
not a
as
good
bad as
thing.
it looks. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, you know,
your
it's
graphics are a little ominous.
showers and storms. I know that little thunderstorm icon looks a little ominous,
Yeah,
but
it's scary looking.
it won't be too bad, but we will see some storms. I'll try to tone it down a little bit.
Please do.
Thanks,
Yeah.
9 days after teachers in West Virginia walked out of their classrooms, they are heading back to work. Right now, we're going to head to Eunice, where News 10's Rebecca Marroquin joins us live near where a 2-year-old was found wandering alone. Rebecca. Heavy snow and high winds are causing blizzards in parts of the upper Midwest. A late winter storm dumped several more inches of snow today in Green Bay, Wisconsin, making for a messy commute there. As the snow from the Midwest moves east, utility crews in the Northeast are scrambling to restore power that was knocked out in last week's nor'easter. In New York, massive downed trees have tens of thousands without power. In Massachusetts, crews are hauling in boulders to shore up a seawall that collapsed in last week's storms, damaging some oceanfront homes. Now, the storm is not expected to bring the same coastal flooding like the one last week, but some parts of the Northeast could see more than a foot of snow. Having a diet talk with teens may cause weight issues later in life. That's ahead in today's Eye on Health. A new study suggests telling your teens to diet may have unhealthy consequences for them later.
Mary Maloney reports.
Coming up, a statue dedicated to a rock and roll legend. All right, AC/DC fans loving a new sculpture of Bon Scott, the Australian band's iconic first lead singer. This sculpture was unveiled today in Melbourne on the wall of the famous AC/DC lane.
Well, it looks like Scott is breaking through the wall.
And the rest is history, of course.
Yes.
Rock and roll history.
That's right. Here, Heath. I know, Heath, you have something to say about AC/DC.
I was singing Thunderstruck there for a
Yeah.
second. Thunder.
And then Brian Johnson took over. And
Yeah.
it was like a handoff, but of course we don't
Exactly.
want to really get into how Bon Scott died.
Right,
Most
yeah.
people know.
But we do have to
Very
say goodbye
tragic.
for now.
See you tonight at 6 for News 10. Good evening, Darla and Blue. That's right. A very emotional scene out here in front of the convenience store where Alton Sterling was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police officers early yesterday morning. All day, people have been congregating in front of the store. Horns have been honking. People have been honking their horns as they drive down the street here. You can see that there is now a mural, a painting going up in the memory of Alton Sterling, the black man who was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police officers just yesterday morning in the early morning hours. You know, I've been covering news for 20 years now, and I've never seen anything quite like this. There are a lot of people out here. Of course, the emotions are running high. People are angry, upset. They are certainly they don't know what to think. And then, of course, they saw the video on social media, which we're going to get to a little bit later, and that made them even more upset and angry. To bring us the latest now on the investigation, I'm going to bring in my colleague, News 10's Dalfred Jones. And Dalfred, you went to the news conference earlier today. You've been following the story all day. What can you tell us is the latest?
Thank you.
Well, Governor John Bel Edwards was in town today. He came to Lafayette and met with officials for about an hour at the parish's Emergency Operations Center. After that, he went on a helicopter tour of Acadiana. This is how that went. Governor John Bel Edwards spoke to the media after meeting with Lafayette Parish officials for about an hour Monday afternoon. He says this has been an unprecedented flood event. He asked residents to be careful and remember that some roadways may be damaged or remain flooded. Edwards then toured some of the flood-ravaged parts of Acadiana by helicopter. He later met with officials in Iberia and Vermilion parishes to see what they need from the state. Edwards says he toured the area with his cabinet members and FEMA's regional administrator. He's hoping President Obama adds parishes in Acadiana to the federal disaster declaration list.
We've got the National Guard represented here, the State Police, Department of Transportation, Department of Children and Family Services. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser is traveling with us. And as I said, we've got the FEMA Regional Administrator who's going to make the decisions and make the recommendations to the White House on adding parishes. And so it's important that he see firsthand the damage that is much more widely spread than just the 4 parishes that have already been declared.
And that is really important that FEMA administrator got to see for himself the damage here in Acadiana. Hopefully we can add those parishes in Acadiana to that list of federal disaster declaration areas. Now, Governor Edwards did want us to get out a couple of important tidbits of information, a phone number and a website. This is for anyone who may have some flood damage in their home. The first is a phone number for FEMA. It's 1-800-621-FEMA. Again, 1-800-621-FEMA. The second one is a website that you can go to. It's disasterassistance.gov. He wants all residents to go to that. So if, and hopefully we will get that disaster declaration, your information will already be in the system, and hopefully money can get to you quicker by having that done. For now, we're reporting live from the Beaver Park area in Lafayette. This is Rob Macko for News 10. We'll be back in just a little bit. Darla? Several hundred teachers, parents, students, and community members came out to support Daisha Hargrave Thursday afternoon. Many signs and shirts read #StandByDaisha. Hargrave, a Renee Rost middle school teacher, attended Monday night's Vermilion Parish School Board meeting. She questioned why Superintendent Jerome Pio got a $30,000 pay raise while the teachers haven't had raises in 10 years. An Abbeville Deputy City Marshal forcibly removed Hargrave from the meeting, then placed her in handcuffs and put her in a police car that took her off to jail. Many people brought signs saying things like "Stand with Daisha and we will not be silenced." You can see they also brought umbrellas because it was kind of rainy this afternoon. Now, we did talk to both parents and teachers, and they say when they saw the video, they were outraged. Sheila Desatel has been a Vermilion Parish teacher for 21 years and knows Hargrave, but she wasn't at the school board meeting. When you saw that video, what was going through your mind?
I became very anxious when I saw that meeting. I almost felt as though I was there. Felt like I wanted to come out of my skin with rage. You know, just could not believe that injustice was happening.
Erica Brown's daughter, Sydney, is a first grader at Indian Bayou Elementary School. Brown thinks the teachers deserve a raise and the community deserves honest answers.
I'm here because I saw the video like everybody else, and it made me angry. And I have a duty to my daughter to show her what's the right thing to do. And the right thing is to stand up and say that we don't agree with what happened.
You don't have to drive very far in Acadiana to find a truck stop casino. 5 Acadiana parishes have them. They offer video poker and a chance to win some cash. Now, the state and local governments also benefit from them. So how much do they get? Well, we have that in a story you'll see only on 10. Video poker has been legal in Louisiana since 1991. You'll find truck stop casinos with video poker machines along interstates and highways. For some, it's a way to pass the time, have some fun, and win some cash.
Just the excitement of it, just the excitement of winning, you know. And all you have to do is press a button. You don't have to sit there and throw cards. It's video poker.
Play, have fun, go home, come back, do the same thing over and over again.
In 1996, voters in about half the state's parishes banned video poker. Now, 5 out of 9 Acadiana parishes allow video poker: St. Landry, St. Martin, Acadia, Jeff Davis, and St. Mary. There are 50 video poker machines inside the Cajun Fire Casino in St. Martin Parish.
Some come from Lafayette, some come from Beau Bridge, some come from Henderson, different locations.
Video poker can be found in bars and lounges, restaurants, hotels, racetrack and off-track betting parlors, and truck stops. State and local governments get a cut of the money ranging from 22.5% to 32.5%. According to the latest numbers covering July 2015 through June 2016, the state collected more than $185 million. Local governments received more than $40 million. In Acadiana, $1.7 million went to Acadia Parish. Jeff Davis Parish received more than $470,000. St. Martin Parish received $3.5 million. St. Mary Parish took in around $877,000, and nearly $1.5 million went to St. Landry Parish.
We have in this parish, at last count, 17 businesses that have video poker machines. A third of those are truck stops.
St. Landry Parish President Bill Fontenot says the parish government gets about $400,000 a year from video poker. And with 800 miles of roads in the parish, there's always work to be done.
Most of it does go to the road system, but the law does allow for us to use it anywhere in the system where it's needed.
This is the Quarters Casino and Travel Plaza in St. Landry Parish. It opened in 2002. By law, they're only allowed to have 50 video poker machines, no slot machines, and they have to follow lots of state rules and regulations. Truck stop casinos are regulated by the Louisiana Gaming Control Board. The State Police Gaming Enforcement Division enforces the law. Pat Willis is the general manager and one of the casino owners.
They come in basically once or twice a year to look around and make sure, to inspect our books, to make sure we're keeping all the records correct. We're required to store some of the information the video poker machines put out.
Willis says the state taxes truck stop casinos at 32.5%. He says casino owners have to put the money into a sweep account that the state sweeps twice a month.
Once you get used to it, it's not that bad. It's not that bad, but they do expect you to follow them. So you need to be on top of your game and make sure you're doing everything that you're supposed to do.
Now, you must be 21 or older to gamble at a casino. The law changed this year to where some video poker machines will accept $50 or $100 bills. It used to be just $20 bills, but the maximum payout on video poker remains $1,000. The 37-year-old Griffin was laid to rest here this afternoon about 3 hours ago. Now, as you remember, his body was brought to Hammond on Saturday. Griffin and 3 other National Guardsmen and 7 Marines were killed in a helicopter crash nearly 2 weeks ago off the Florida Panhandle. Now, Griffin was a crew member on the helicopter. His funeral was held this morning at Holy Ghost Catholic Church in Hammond. Now, after that funeral, a procession led by Hammond Police and Louisiana State Troopers traveled from Hammond to Fountain Memorial Gardens here in Lafayette. Patriot Guard motorcycle riders were also part of the procession, and that procession traveled on Interstate 12 and then onto Interstate 10 here to Lafayette. Now, earlier today in the morning, News 10's Brianna Berry was in Hammond for the funeral service. Now, as Brianna mentioned, there was that procession that went from Hammond here to Lafayette, and I was told that there were even car riders that kind of joined the procession to pay tribute to Griffin. And again, the burial service was held here this afternoon. A procession with dozens of police vehicles, Patriot riders, family members, and friends pulled into Fountain Memorial Gardens just after 2 p.m. A Lafayette Fire Department tower truck hoisted a huge American flag in Griffin's honor. Bagpipes played while Griffin's flag-draped casket was carried to the burial spot. After a 21-gun salute, 2 military helicopters flew overhead to pay tribute to Griffin. Griffin served in the National Guard for 21 years. Chief Warrant Officer 2 Daniel Solis knew Griffin for more than 20 years. He served with him on 2 tours in Iraq, also in Haiti, Honduras, Belize, and in Hurricanes Katrina and Rita.
I mean, we're in an inherently dangerous business, and we know that every day when we go to work. So, I mean, all our friends and everyone we work with, we know every day that there's a chance something mechanically might happen or weather. So, and we do that because we love our jobs. We love what we do. We love to fly. Griffin leaves behind his wife and 4 children. Live at Fountain Memorial Gardens, Rob Macko, KLFY News 10.